Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Conjin, and I'm the Director of Academic Programs in the Honors College at Kent State University. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here tonight to hear Sonia Sanchez, this year's Anisfield Wolf Book Award Lifetime Achievement winner. In fact, the Anisfield Wolf Book Awards ceremony will be held next week in Cleveland. More about that later this evening. Sonia is here tonight as a part of Kent State University's year-long 50th commemoration of the May 4th tragedy. Quoting from the Commemoration's website, quote, "The annual May 4th commemoration provides an opportunity for us all to remember and honor the tragic events of May 4th, 1970 that occurred on the Kent State campus. It was on that day that members of the Ohio National Guard opened fire on students protesting the Vietnam War, killing 4 students and wounding 9 others. The upcoming 50th May 4th commemoration in 2020 represents a significant and historic milestone, not only for Kent State University, but the country as well. Beginning this fall and continuing through May 4th, 2020, Kent State University will honor the 50th commemoration with a year-long observance of educational programs and events in addition to the traditional commemoration activities on May 4th. I am extremely honored that Sonia agreed to come to Kent tonight. As you will soon hear, she is a trailblazer on many fronts, and her wisdom, insight, and words will certainly resonate with you all here. But now I'd like to invite Dr. Ebony Pringle, Dean of Kent State's University College, to the stage to introduce Sonia.
Good evening, and welcome. So pleased to see so many people in the audience, many of whom I haven't seen in years for this momentous occasion. I've had the opportunity to sit with Sister Sanchez a couple times today, and just being in her presence was an event for me in my life, and I know that each of you will feel that during her time with us this evening. So I almost don't feel like I'm in a good place to introduce such a legend, someone who has done so much work in our country, but I'm going to try to do her some justice. I know it won't be enough. So I am pleased to introduce to each of you someone who needs absolutely no introduction. She's very familiar to so many of us in the room through her her writings and her talks across the country. I'm certain we have all had an opportunity to learn from her. Sister Sanchez is a poet, a mother, a professor, national and international lecturer on Black culture and literature, women's liberation, peace, and racial justice, sponsor of Women's International League for Peace and Freedom, board member of MADRA. Sonia Sanchez is the author of over 20 books, including Homecoming, We, a Bad People. I tried to get that one right. I don't think I did. I might have to try that one again. I love that. Love Poems, I've Been a Woman, A Sound Investment and Other Stories, Homegirls and Hand Grenades, Under a Soprano Sky, Wounded in the House of a Friend, Does Your House Have Lions, Like the Singing Coming Off the Drums, Shake Loose My Skin, and most recently, Morning Haiku. And we learned this morning she is also working on another piece. I don't know how she does it. In addition to being a contributing editor to Black Scholar and the Journal of African Studies, she has edited an anthology, We Be Word Sorcerers, 25 stories by Black Americans. The Sonia Sanchez Literary Review is the first African-American journal that discusses the work of Sister Sanchez and the Black arts movement. A recipient of a National Endowment of the Arts the Lucretia Mott Award for 1984, the Outstanding Arts Award from the Pennsylvania Coalition of 100 Black Women, the Community Service Award from the National Black Caucus of State Legislators. She is a winner of the 1985 American Book Award for Homegirls and Hand Grenades, the Governor's Award for Excellence in the Humanities for 1998, the Peace and Freedom Award from Women International League for Peace and Freedom for 1989, a Pew Fellowship in the Arts for 1992 through 1993, and the recipient of Langston Hughes Poetry Award for 1999. Does Your House Have Lions was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle. She is the Poetry Society of America's 2001 Robert Frost Medalist and a Ford Freedom Scholar from the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Her poetry has also appeared in the movie Love Jones, and Sister Sanchez has lectured at over 500 universities and colleges in the United States. She has traveled extensively reading her poetry in Africa, Cuba, England, the Caribbean, Australia, Europe, Nicaragua, the People's Republic of China, Norway, and Canada. She was the first presidential fellow at Temple University, and she held the Laura Carnell Chair in English at Temple. She is the recipient of the Harper Lee Award in 2004, the Alabama Distinguished Writer, and the National Visionary Leadership Award for 2006. She is the recipient of the 2005 Leeway Foundation Transformational Award, the 2009 Robert Creeley Award, and currently, Sister Sanchez is one of 20 African American women featured in Freedom Sisters, an interactive exhibition created by the Cincinnati Museum Center and the Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition. In December of 2011, Philadelphia Mayor Michael Nutter selected Sister Sanchez as Philadelphia's first poet laureate, calling her the longtime conscience of the city. I think we are in the presence of a legend. I know we are in the presence of a legend, and I think we are all honored to welcome her to the stage this evening.
Thank you so very much. What an honor it is to be here on this campus. I was reminded that I've been here a couple of times, and they showed me pictures today of when I was very young. I had a birthday on Monday. I am now 85 years of age, so it was quite a... And it's so nice seeing people that I know. I'm moving on. I've been moving all day today, so I'm really moving on kind of low. But I think I can rev myself up right now because it's such a nice audience. I want to thank Sister Karen Long and Brother David Hustler and Brother Frank Conjan, and Sister Meba Gooden, and Sister Allison Smith, and Sister Stephanie, and I got the last name wrong, I know. Moskai? Ah, thank you. Moscow, I got it right the second time. And Sister Ebony Pringle. And all of the people today in the classes I went to, and the people who had dinner, lunch, and breakfast with me, and the discussions that we had. I thank you so much. I said I was going to be like Columbus. I was going to discover this place, you know, and then call it my own, right? Right. I figured if he could do it, I could do it too, right? Yeah. And so, my dear sister, I discovered your office, which is unbelievable. And so I said, must be mine since I just discovered it, right? But this campus is a special place. And so I like to think that also I've discovered this place again after so many years, and that I'm seeing so many people that when I came here before, that they showed up again, which means we're still kicking, which is really nice to know that we're still kicking. I thank you so much for that. I want to start off with a poem that I did about dying, a poem of praise. Man, woman, is an alien in this world in spite of all the pleasures. Woman, man is an early traveler who tastes in himself, herself, the world. When you wake up in the morning, woman, man, meditate on your beginning. Meditate as you flow in the waters of your birth. Meditate on the 9 months you rest unseen and the world awaits you when you come soiled and crying. And they pick you up like one small melon and hush up your crying. At first, you do not speak and your legs are like orphans. At first, your 2 eyes cross themselves in confusion. At first, your mouth knows only the full breast of milk, a sweet taste of this world. There is nothing which does not come to an end, and to live 1 year is good in the sight of God. You are born worthy of praise. All things that he, she makes are worthy of praise. In your days made up of dreams, in your eyes made of dawn, you walk towards old age, child of the rainbow, child of beauty, through the broad fields, and your eyes gained power, and your limbs grew long like yellow corn, an abundance of life, an abundance of joy. With beauty before you, you walk towards old age. There is nothing which does not come to an end, and to live 7 years is good in the sight of God. Silently to life you spoke, young male child, young female child. You praised life coming as a river between hills, and your laughter was like red berries in summer, and your shouting like giant eagles. As you walk towards old age, young female child, young male child, your voice harnessed the wind. There is nothing which does not come to an end, and to live 14 years is good in the sight of God. Father, behold me in a sacred manner. Mother, behold me in a sacred manner. My family sitting holy, behold me in a sacred manner. For I am woman, man, and I must run with the evening tide, must hold up my hands, for my life is opening before me. I am going to walk far to the east. I hope to find a good morning somewhere. I'm going to raise my own voice. I hope to have peace somewhere. Father, mother, behold me now. I've moved to a house of darkness, but your memories of me light my way. I do not cry, for I am man, woman, no longer a child of your womb. There is nothing which does not come to an end, and to live 19 years, to live 20 years is good in the sight of God. On Monday, May 4th, some people were killed. I call on Allison Crossan. I call on Brother Jeffrey Miller. I call on Sister Sandra Shore. I call on William Knox Schroeder. Brothers and sisters all. I call on Joseph Lewis. I call on John Eric R. Cleary. I call on Thomas McGrace. I call on Alan Michael Canfora. I call on Dean R. Kayla. I call on Douglas Allen Redmond. I call on James Dennis Russell. I call on Robert Fowler Stamms. I call on Donald Scott McKenzie. just a remembrance. Albert Camus' remark upon receiving the Nobel Prize, the nobility of our writer's calling will always be rooted in two commitments difficult: to observe, refuse to lie about what we know, and resistance to oppression. Always resistance to oppression. Can you say resist? Resist. No. Can you say resist? Resist. Can you say resist? Resist. And you got to do it. And you got to do it. We have to learn to remember what the clouds cannot forget, Nicholas Guillen said. And America, W.E.B. Du Bois said, we cannot accept from America equal rights to do wrong. I traveled to Cuba for an international writers' conference in the late 1970s. After I had read a paper, some of the officials asked me if I wanted anything. And being from New York, I asked for the most important thing to me at that time. I said, I would like to meet the great poet Nicholas Guillen. They stared at me, said he wasn't feeling well, said they tried to arrange it. 2 hours later, they gathered me up, and as I entered his office, he was standing in the middle of the room, feet planted on Cuban earth, legs no longer strong, but arms strong like Elizabeth Cutler's black women's arms. And he said, Sonia Sanchez, como Langston Hughes. And I smiled a smile of recognition, folded myself into his arms, and he hugged me so hard that I couldn't breathe. And I thought, hold it, I didn't come all this way to die in Cuba. And then I realized that if I just stopped struggling, if I just leaned into his breath, I would be all right. And I leaned into his breath, and we began to breathe as one. That is what poetry teaches us, the necessity to learn how to lean into each other's breath and breathe as one. So listen, gentle persons. I come to you today with two voices. The voice of the praiser, the voice of the poet, a weaver of words threading silver and gold into our veins. So listen, gentle persons, my sisters and my brothers, pull your hearts out of your armpits, get your tuxedos out of mothballs, put your long red dress on, girl, and snap your breasts into place as we go sailing on our tongues, loving, living, learning to speak to each other without a crutch. Someone said, there is a dance in each one of us. I would say there is also moon, prayer, rain, ash, and river, a river of castanets feeling the pulse of this gathering today. You, my brothers and sisters, our practicing American saints, must finally break into a dance of butterflies, winging in and out of our American houses, hanging bamboo laughter, lighting our churches, our synagogues, our meeting houses, our mosques, our cities, our hallways, our campuses, our streets, our homes, our country, our world, our eyes, our hands, our minds, our memory against lies and peacock catastrophes. This is a poem about hands, I think. You frontier men and women whose hands will discover life through helping the poor and the rich, the uneducated and the educated, the uninitiated and the initiated, the organizers, hands wrapped in risks as you reach out to humankind. And I hold out my hands to you, my sisters and my brothers. These hands with no eyes, these hands with no nostrils, these hands with no ears. Now I dress them up like a musician so they can see you home, so they can accompany you as you move surrounded by the voices of your ancestors, as you move across the scent of tongues. What to say to you, my brothers and sisters, in the soft evening air as the world holds us all in a single breath. We sing, will you let us in, America? It is time for young words and new ideas, new visions. We sing, today is Wednesday. We have passed this way for generations. on our way home to you. We have walked 1,000 midnights, and our eyes are anointed with indigo. We sing amen, 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 a woman, a woman, a woman. This is a poem about students. You fun-loving women and men, you flint and feather men and women, you country and cathedral men and women with hearts in your mouths, singing down the wind and becoming the wind, tearing the wings off wars and guns and ignorance and poverty and assassinations and separation of parents and children in concentration camps in America, assassinations and murderers of our children in the streets of America, and homophobia and elitism and racism and sexism and greed and white supremacy and greed and white supremacy and sexism, folding yourselves into the music of a Spanish guitar, forever strumming peace, 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 racial and social and economic justice, and life, 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 life. This is a poem you'll say, I know. This is a poem you'll say, I know it, about that great genius, W.B. Du Bois, who said, what shall the end be? The world, old and fearful things, war and wealth, murder and luxury, or shall it be a new thing, a new peace, and a new democracy for all races, a just humanity of equal men and women? This is a poem about a new century, our century, your century, my young sisters and brothers, about the truth in our children's eyes as we wash the feet of our country, as we sanitize the walls of the world with environmental justice and peace, and racial and social and economic and sexual and religious justice. Hey, yeah, 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 as we anoint our hands with light, as we walk towards ourselves and find others just like us. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, 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 yeah. This is a poem with no jet-propelled pain, no irrelevant death squads, just a memory of hands, a memory of eyes calling out, our eyes opening up the world as we create dreams, as we go out through these doors textured by colors, and the day disrobes in prayer. Today is your day, my young brothers, my young sisters. Come, come, please come, you and I. Let us go into the world praising ourselves, elaborating a metaphysic for the universe, carrying black, brown, white, yellow, red earth from one plane to another, clothing this planet and our cities and our eyes with information, with love, intellect, passion, hope, and peace, always peace. Come, 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 and become lightning flash. Come, 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 and become a river running through hatred. Come, come, come. Finally, you and I must paint our faces guardians of the world. Finally, we must know that we are not Robert Oppenheimer quoting the Gita, I have become death. No, we are, must quote, I have become life, 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 and therefore I must oppose any and all killings and gossip and murderings and rapings and invasions and wars and executions and invasive actions. I have become life, 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 and I burn silver, red, black, yellow, brown, white, with life for our children, for the universe, for the sake of being human. We must all say, I have become life. Look at me. I have become life, 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 life. I walk in the light. I move like the dawn with a tint of blue in my hair. I say, I have become life. And I walk a path that clears away the debris of greed and racists and sexists and homophobes and terrorists and killers of this earth and of our children, pornographers, doomsayers. I have become life, the prayers of our mothers and fathers, our ancestors, when life was low, and the rivers and waters rose in our throats, and all that we sang was rumored forgotten. And you, my young sisters, my young brothers, must become small miracles, must push the wind down into the slow bloodstream of America, scrape the rust from your eyes, go floor by floor, window by window, and clean faces will rise from the dust, and you must become new brides and bridegrooms among change, men and women coming for their inheritance, and you must challenge us, your teachers, your elders, your professors, your senators, your congressmen, your presidents, to catch up with you. your breaths, your breathing. You must remember at some particular point that you Latinos and Chicanos and Native Americans and Jews and gays and Asians and Muslims, transgenders and whites and lesbians, Chicanos and Africans, must gather up all our rainbow-colored skins in peace and racial justice. I say, as you say, as we must say, I have, we have, I say, I have, we have, must become life, 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 light, 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 light. You'll say, I know. You'll say, I know it. You'll say, I know. You'll say, I know it. So I say to you, on this afternoon, on this evening, this top of the day, dropping blue, white sapphires, inaugurate across the sound of your words, not closed minds and hearts and hands, not symbols and serums and greed, not peepholes and greed and posturings, not greed and voyeurism, not greed and legends and lechery, not greed and gossip. Inaugurate a new day, a new way for all our people. Inaugurate like new women and men should, coming out of yourselves towards peace and racial and sexual and economic and social justice. So come with yourselves, singing life, singing eyes, singing hands, alarming the deaf singers that we have come to celebrate life until we become seeing women and men again. Inaugurate a new way of breathing for the world, a new way of breathing for the world, and it will get better. It will get better because of you, my dear young brothers and sisters. eBay, 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 eBay. It'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better because of you and you and you and you and you. Thank you. Do I get it, or do I stay?
Go right to that first chair. So that was just excellent, wonderful. Thank you again for coming, Sonia. We are now going to move to the second part of tonight's presentation, questions from the audience. Dr. Amoaba Gooden, Chair of the Department of Pan-African Studies, has agreed to facilitate tonight's Q&A. Dr. Gooden earned her PhD from Temple University in African American Studies and is a very active member of the Kent State community and several professional organizations. There will be 2 microphones, one on each side of the room. So if you would just please raise your hand, and the microphone holder will come to you and you can ask your question. Thank you very much.
Hi, Sister Sonia. So I'm speaking for myself, and I might be speaking for multiple people in the audience, but I was profoundly moved by your words and your reading, so thank you. We are all honored that you're here and that you're able to grace us with your presence, so thank you again. So recognizing that you're exhausted, it's been a very long day, we're going to take a couple of questions from the audience. But while we're thinking about what we might pose to Sister Sonia, I'm going to begin with the first question. So what really struck me as you're reading it in some of the works I've read, Wounded in the House of the Friend, and even your poem for July 4th, for example, is that you are brutally honest about global atrocities and oppression. And yet you push us towards peace and love, even as we resist. How do we do that? How do we live, move to life, as you say, right? And still resist?
That's a hard question, I think we move in, I think like everything else, we move forward and then we fall back sometimes. You know that? Oh, yeah. You move forward, you fall back, depending on the circumstances, you know? I always used to say to people, you shouldn't go out when you're sick, because you make mistakes when you do that, right? And I have done that, you know, when I've been really ill, right? And that's not a good thing. But, you know, I'm speaking to the very young now. I was in a class before I came here at 2 o'clock. And it's not easy. We've left you, your elders, a hell of a world. You know, you should really look at us and say, whoa, people, what were you doing? Or rather, what weren't you doing, right? Yeah. I mean, we have left you a world, you know, that, but we did do some work, you know, and we tried to give you a better world. We wanted you to inherit a much better world, but at the same time, we are giving you a world that the world will be disappearing underwater before our eyes if we don't do something about that. I mean, that's not make-believe, that's very real. So how do you say to people at the same time when you say there's prejudice, right? There's homophobia, you know, there's poverty, whatever, and then all of a sudden you come out, you know the world is going to disappear underwater, whatever. People say, yeah, what else, Sonia? Yeah, but it's true. We're leaving you something that you can't concentrate on, just the whole idea of maintaining jobs, getting jobs, changing the world, whatever, and at the same time, you're looking at global, you know, destruction practically, you know, not just here, but all over the world. So that's a hell of a thing we're leaving you with. And a lot of it comes from greed, with people who will not deal with what is going on, you know, in the world. I don't know. My generation was an interesting generation, I think. I read the piece of Sister Tony in the class today that I'd done for Sister Tony. I was going to read it here today, begin, but I broke down in class and I knew that I couldn't do it, no, again. I can't give you any easy answers. What I can say to you, however, that you and I know you've got to face this world in with a very brave face, with a face that says, I want to live. I really want to live, and the only way you're going to do it is to struggle and fight. You know that? Not wars, okay, but fight, you know, against the greed in this country, the greed of corporations. I mean, they could care less about you. I mean, that is real. That's not make-believe. You know, the greed, you know, of a country that says at one point we will stop drilling down, you know, on the southern coast, right, you know, and then they start drilling again three years later after the oil, you know, looks good again for them to go and get it. We have not seen greed like this since the robber barons, and at least the robber barons, you know, at the turn of the century, at least they gave something back. You know, this 1% is an interesting group of people, you know. They take, and they take. And they make us look at each other with disdain. You know, they make us look at each other like, you know, you really aren't a part of this, you know. They say to people, you too can be a millionaire, but what does it mean being a millionaire? Whatever, when you're talking about people who have $40 billion and probably more overseas at some point. So $1 million, someone said to me, well, Professor Sanchez, I want to be a millionaire. I said, well, since you're wishing, why don't you be a billionaire then, right? You know, come on, you know, whatever. I mean, let's wish for something beyond this. No, really, people really say that. I want to be I mean, what's wrong with that? What you got against someone being a millionaire? I said, nothing. It's just how we get it. You know, it's just how we don't share it. You know, it's just like at some particular point, I think you should be rewarded, but I think nobody needs to have $100 billion. I'm serious about that. Because if you have, it means you haven't given back. You have not given. You have not built up cities that need to be built, you know? I mean, you know, we watch the pure destruction of cities in our country, people, you know, and someone will say, I'm now going to give $1 billion to cancer this and $1 million for that. What does that mean with the kind of money they have? It means nothing. I'm going to give $1 million to Africa. Is that so? Tell me. How about $2 billion? But we have not seen greed like this, ever. And we also have not seen the disdain for us, for people, what we see today. I mean, utter disdain, We have not seen, if you watched the program, the Idiot Box yesterday with the news, the television, the news, right? We have not seen the disdain, that people have towards the Congress. See, it had to spread finally. If you have disdain for us and we elect the people who go to Congress and the Senate, right? You should have watched that man talk on the TV. He has utter disdain for the Congress. People who make our laws, people, and we elect them, by the way, utter disdain for the Congress and senators. Isn't that amazing? So we can't sit back and do nothing. So if it just means sometimes writing a letter, explaining, like whenever I give money to the DNC, I write a long letter. Say, what are you doing? I'm serious, Or you should be doing the following, maybe, right? Or isn't it time to impeach? Right. And I'm not just, someone said, oh God, she's a poet. What is she talking politics for? Our lives are political. The moment I gave birth to my twins, that was a political act. They were males. And I knew what that meant. The moment you walked into this college, that was a political act. But make no mistake about it. Everything you do is political. The moment we vote, that's obviously political, right? The moment you don't vote, that's political also too. Whatever we do, whatever we eat, that's a political act, people. Everything we do is political, right? And to look and see people have disdain for the Congress in that fashion, this utter disdain means that what they feel for us is like, whoa, where are we on that totem pole? So yes, I would say you're on this campus, work together, the different organizations, If you have this organization, go in, come and work for African American Studies, right? Learn what's going on. Take classes there. If you have, I don't know, all that you have here. If you have, Latino studies, right? Jewish studies, women's studies, go and take those courses. Engage people in the conversation. I made my students, I literally made my students join other organizations to help them. We're not single people. If we have the same goals, supposedly, we must help each other. We must learn to look at each other. We must learn to sit together and listen to each other and not get ready to burst out, and say negative stuff about people, right? This is because America wants you to have this utter disdain for each other at some point. And we can't do that anymore. This earth will not support this kind of behavior anymore. This earth is saying, woo, watch it. I will take you under. Whatever. This is Mother Earth talking to us now, and people say, I don't know what's happening here. We're having so many tornadoes, whatever, and you just start humming. I wonder why, right. But we cannot do what we do to this earth. This earth is reflecting what we've done to our people. We were saying at lunch today that there's so many places in America that have been violated, that we have buried bodies and bones, from slaughterings and slaughters. I was at a place called Smith College. And I was reading a piece called Middle Passage. Some of you might know that piece, where I chant, right? And I talk about being brought here, ancestors, right? In the middle of it, I broke down and started to cry. I literally broke down, and I couldn't stop sobbing. I finally got through the piece, and then I stopped, and I said, what happened here? Something happened here, right here in this weapon. And the archivist stood up and said, there was a massacre of Native Americans here. But travel. If you travel any place you go and get still, just be still, you'll understand, you'll feel the many, many, many deaths and killings in this country, and we must begin in a very real sense, to heal. And one of the ways you young people have got to lead that healing. You've got to show your parents and your grandparents who say things that are not correct, right? Yes, they do. You've been at the Thanksgiving table, you hear it, whatever, One of my students came back. She said, Professor Sanchez, we were eating dinner. The TV was on. You know how you eat Thanksgiving dinner and the bloody TV is on at the same time, right? And a picture came on of an African-American man, zoom, and the father said, that's why we don't want none of them in our neighborhood. She said, I stood up. And I said, how could you talk like that, Dad? He said, what are they teaching you up there at Temple University, right, whatever, And she came back and she said, I never would have responded to that if I had not been in this women's studies class, if I had not been here talking. Because in that class, when we were talking about welfare, a very well-dressed young white woman, a European woman, stood up and said, I'm on welfare. And the whole class, let me tell you, said, what? No, think about that. The majority of people on welfare are whites. She stood up. All her father and said, I'm on welfare. I could not make it through Temple University without being on welfare. Right. That kind of truth made that class come together because I put them in committees. They had to work together with each other. They had to look at each other and listen to their stories, whatever. They had to write together. They had to take exams together. Can you imagine taking exams together? And the whole group got the same grade. I know this is a roundabout answer to your question. But one year, I walked into my classroom, right, and said, good morning, my sisters and my brothers. Well, the blacks looked at me and said, she must have had a hard night or a hard summer. Someone said, do you realize there are other people here? I said, yes, I do. Oh, silence, right? Okay. We went on. I divided them up into committees, right? And I put people very consciously together. And then you could hear in that classroom, people getting disturbed. And I knew a disturbance would happen at the beginning of the semester. I said nothing. I just kept on teaching whatever. But things happen in that classroom with people working together. I said, in this class this semester, we're going to have people in your committees, right? I had always 10 committees, right? Whatever grade you have, we're going to have what I call a class final, a group final. You're all going to take the final, and you're going to have whatever I give you, right, on that group final will be the grade for everybody. Well, the Phi Beta Kappas got crazy. What? I'm graduating Phi Beta Kappa. I said, I'm sorry. You can drop the class if you want to. Right. They started, the first week was pure unadulterated hell. Everybody came and said, please, 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 please. This person doesn't even know how to write a paper. What is she doing in in my group, right? We all know how to write paper. I said, then teach her. If you're so bloody smart, teach her. Teach her, because you can teach her better than I can teach her, whatever, right? They went away, right? Another one came at the same thing. I went home, when I was going home, driving home, crying. You're crying, so what did I do? Your classes are so nice and so easy and so simple and so loving. What have you done? What I had unleashed was what people were saying, all these nice things in classes, but they really didn't want to get along with each other. They really didn't want to work with each other. And so we plodded along. I'm serious, people. It was a plod, whatever. They took home that exam together. Those bright students taught the so-called not bright student, right, how to write. from their experience on writing. They taught them how to write. Do you hear that? You know, they went boom, boom, boom. I'm going to say it again. I know that happened, whatever. And I gave the group grade. The next semester came in, a year's thing. They all came back. They said, "We still going to do that grade thing?" I said, "A group thing?" I said, "Uh-huh." They had learned how to cooperate. They had learned how to be citizens. That's what that was about. The whole thing was about, how are we citizens? What are we teaching people in the university? How can you be a citizen? How do you work together? You know, how do you even take a test together? Can you imagine? Right, you know, how do we look each other in and get mad, walk out, and you have to come back, though, because I said you can't break it up now at this point. It's too late, right? But the point was to teach them how to be citizens, you know, in a classroom and therefore outside the classroom. That was an amazing moment for me in terms of teaching. I thought, I wish I had known that before. All those years I could have done that in that fashion and had trouble, yes, right. But in the meantime, also move. But that's what you have got to do. You got to be scared to go into some of these clubs, you know, some of these whatever. You need to go and sit in and say, I came in to join. Well, at first people say, what is she doing in here? Why is she here? She doesn't look like us. Whoa. But does she think like you? Is she trying to think like you? Come on. I feel the resistance in here. You think I don't feel resistance? Yes, I do. But this is the reality of you, young people. We are not going to have a world if you don't break down some of these barriers here. If you're not willing to step out on faith, people, step out on faith, that at some point we can do this together, because this is the world you are inheriting here. America is I hate that thing, melting pot. It's so corny, but America is it is. America is a place where we're all not alike. Look at us. You know, we're not alike, people. You know, many of you, who are white, you're not the majority. That's amazing. Which means we've got to learn how to cooperate with each other and work with each other, And so all I can say to you is that there must be a beginning movement towards each other, a beginning movement where you cross boundaries, go and hang out with somebody, right, huh? No, that's hard to do, isn't it? Because it's so much easier to hang out with people that's my boy, oh, that's my girl, oh yeah, we're gonna get down this weekend, right? Is that so? Why don't you get down with someone who sits by himself or herself, like I did in college, right? And go over and say something to them, invite them someplace, right? At some point. But above all, begin to learn how to organize on this campus, organize in terms of clubs, organize in terms of sororities, fraternities, whatever you're into, because once you do that, you come out into the world, whatever, and challenge. I know the university brought me here, but challenge the university. When they do wrong, challenge them. You must challenge them. You can't sit back and say, well, I'm graduating, so I can't. Yes, you can. Whatever. You must learn how to challenge people, not rudely, okay, but challenge them, saying, how about doing it this way? Because this is what you must do. You've got to challenge America now. You've got to challenge the Congress. You've got to challenge people, who are not doing what they should be doing. You have to challenge people who are trying to take us back to the 19th century, people. Make America great again. Really? Is that so? You must challenge that. Because what does that mean on many levels? So that was the answer to your...
Thank you. Well, you're in a class all unto yourself. So there's a young student here who has a question. And if somebody can bring her the mic, she's just right at the front. And she has... she's right here, Tamir, and she's a fan. Tamara.
Tamara, yes, ma'am. Yes, hi.
And she, so Homegirls and Renegade is one of your favorite books that Sister Sonia has written, and there's a particular poem that speaks to you, right?
Reflections after the June 12th March for Disarmament. every time I read this poem, I cry and I feel like my ancestors are like swirling around me. And in a major like the major that I am in right now.
Just hold it up so they can hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Stand up so the rest can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So the major that I'm currently in, diversity really isn't a main priority. So I challenged. I really want to be a bride of change. I think that's like an amazing thing. I started an organization through like my major, and it's been a really challenging thing, and I just wanted to know how you bring the spirit of your ancestors, like you touch everyone with that, and how do you do that for people who seem to not really care a lot?
One of the things when I first started to teach, when you're a young teacher, right? I was saying to one of the groups I was in that I was, I never veered from my notes. When you're a young professor, you have your notes there and you're fixated at the desk, people, right? Like, okay. And every now and then someone takes you away as you get older and you get that experience, you don't need the notes as much, it goes there in the body. I don't, and your question was, how do
you bring the spirit of your ancestors and touch people who seem to not care as much?
I think we all walk with our ancestors, but sometimes we don't acknowledge them, because it's a scary thing, or you think people might think you're, out of your mind or something, whatever. But I do believe that our ancestors, are with us always, that they are watching us and hoping at some point that there will be more progress, on this earth at some point. I think you can, if you go to church, if you don't go to church and you pray, or if you go to a friend's meeting house or wherever you go, right? That at some point, I think, when you really listen and commune with that space, there's always the spirit entering your body at some point. But take it a step further. If you really want to move on holy ground, do good work for people. Be a good teacher. Be one who will stop and help, whatever. Be a good neighbor. I was outside moving my, the garbage men leave the cans there, and I was putting my cans back in, pulling my neighbors back in. Someone in my said, "Why are you bothering with other people's garbage cans, Professor Sanchez? What are you doing? Isn't that something?" I said, "They're my neighbors. They're my neighbors, and I'm supposed to pull, if I'm out there early and no one is out, and the garbage cans are, sometimes they throw them on the ground, whatever. I'm supposed to pick them up and push them up, and that's my neighbor. That's my neighborhood. That's not just what I do, and it is that willingness to expand, the spirit you walk with yourself, and to share it with other people. I'm not saying. Someone said, "Well, are you asking me to be a sucker, Professor Sanchez?" Whatever. I said, no. Because if you're a sucker, you're already a sucker. You know what I mean? Sorry. But I'm asking you to be human. The question we've got to answer in this century is, what does it mean to be human? Not pretty, not bright, not educated, not with a fine home, a fine car, right? Not with the best-looking girlfriend, right? The best-looking boyfriend, right? The best clothes. No. What does it mean to be human? To really walk as a human being on this earth. If you believe in God, if you believe in Jehovah, if you believe in Allah, that question must be answered in all these religions. What does it mean to be, right? What's the question? What does it mean to be? Human. Not pretty, not smart, whatever, right? But what does it mean? And you can see that everything that's directed towards us is to get us away from being human. Let's watch the programs you're watching. Just watch them very carefully. It is to direct us away from our own humanity. Right, watch it. There's nothing there that is saying, be human. Every now and then they do some little show. There's some show on Sunday that they do about guy hearing God. Right? What is that program called?
God friended.
Huh? God what? God friended me. Come on, yell. God friended me. Isn't it amazing? No. Let's say that. God friended me. That's what they give us. It's utter disrespect about God and about us. God friended me. Not God entered my body and made me feel very good towards people. Not God made me understand that I no longer curse people, that I no longer kill people, I no longer do terrible things. No, God friended me. The me generation, me, nobody else, just me. Just me. God friended me. The rest of you people, tough. Come on. And that's what I'm talking about, this appeal to this me. Not we, but me. Always me, by ourselves, whatever. And I'm just saying at some point, we all have that spirit. We all travel with ancestors, whatever. Sometimes we're very frightened about the idea of ancestors, right? But we travel. There are times when if you really look and listen sometimes, there are things that we know. Instinctively, we hear it, whatever, We get frightened of it, whatever. But we move accordingly. So yes, but, it is important. And everything that you do, if you do it well, if you teach well, if wherever you work, if you serve food well, if you pick up garbage well, whatever you do, you must do it, with earnesty. You must do it well. And we must really try very hard to make our lives really be one of holiness, a holy life. What does it mean to be holy also too? But above all, what does it mean to be human? And if we don't answer that question in this century, there will not be another century. No, it won't be.
So I think the question, what a wonderful answer. But I want to thank Sonia and Amawaba tonight for moderating. So I'd like to now ask Dr. Allison Smith, Dean of the Honors College, and Karen Long, manager of the Anisfield Wolf Book Award, to say a few words about the Anisfield Book Awards, as well as Cleveland Book Week coming up next week. And I have one more announcement too, since this is a student event. If you need proof of attendance for a class, Cody will be out in the front lobby when you leave with some paperwork, so just remember that.
Good evening, and thank you for coming tonight. I am delighted to welcome Karen Long from the Cleveland Foundation to Kent State University's campus. Karen serves as manager of the Anisfield Wolf Book Award, the only juried prize given each year for the best books to confront racism and contribute to our understanding of rich human cultures. She supports the jury deliberations, the celebration of the winners, and works to bring the Anisfield Wolf canon, stretching back to 1935, into the lives of more readers each year. She will be talking about the awards and the events surrounding the awards next week. Karen.
Thank you, Dean Smith. Thank you, Dr. Gooden. Thank you, Sister Sonia. We had church tonight We had temple, we had mosque, we had meeting house, and we accompanied a legend, to use Dr. Pringle's beautiful language. This is the beginning of a week of books. Please pick up one of these on your way out for details. And if you haven't imbibed enough Sonia Sanchez magic tonight, please watch her again next Thursday, September 26th at 6 p.m., a live stream on annisfield-wolf.org. Thanks to everyone here tonight for launching our spiritual path, especially Frank Congen and our hosts at Kent State University, and profoundly and deeply our word sorcerer, treasured sister Sonia Sanchez.
Thank you, Karen, for such wonderful information about the Anisfield Wolf Book Award and Cleveland Book Week. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank our sponsors for tonight's events. And there's quite a few of them here. So we have the University College, the Honors College, the Department of Pan-African Studies, the Wick Poetry Center, the Department of English, the May 4th 50th Commemoration Committee, the College of Graduate Studies, and of course, the Cleveland Foundation. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight, and I wish you all a very good night. Thank you.